Hey, Irwin.
Hey, Vanessa.
Thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited to dive into a deep conversation to get to know who you are. Why don't we start off? One, let's start with the position that you're running for and
Sure.
A little bit about yourself, so your professional background.
Okay. So, well, I'm Irwin Elman. I'm intending to be the next member of provincial parliament for Don Valley West, and I'm running for the NDP. First time ever running in electoral politics. Learning a lot, meeting a lot of people. It's amazing. So how did I get here professionally? I was in political science at Carleton University, so I graduated there, then did a Bachelor of Education and became a teacher, then did a Master's of Education at U of T, and I had moved from Ottawa to Toronto to do that. Stayed in Toronto, couldn't find a teaching job, and this job came up to help set up a center for young people who are leaving child welfare care, children in care leaving at the age of 18, and help them get ready to be on their own or live on their own. Created that space, that center, with great staff and young people for about 20 years, worked there. Was the service director for Central Toronto Youth Services, which is a children's mental health center, for about a year, and then the opportunity to become Ontario's child advocate came up and got the job. It was unanimous by the legislature, hired me, and my legislation that told me as an advocate what I could do gives me 2 5-year terms. So I finished my 5-year term. I had to get reappointed by the legislature. They, I think to their credit, thought I was doing a good job and unanimously reappointed me for another 5 years. So from 2008 to 2019, when my term ended, 2008 till 2018, when my term ended, I was a child advocate, and then the government had decided at the end of my term to close the office, and I decided that I was going to stay until that office closed, because I was not going to leave that ship and the people who were on it with me, my staff, the young people. I'm not going to abandon them. And I told the government as much, so stayed another year, doing my best to protect the work of the office. And now I'm a fellow with the Laidlaw Foundation of Ontario. I'm a global advisor to Until the Last Child. I'm what's called an amicus, a friend to the Coroner of Ontario, helping create a new child death review process. I'm on a host of boards, and really, I guess, try and take my place in the world's work and world's struggles, trying to make a difference.
I love that. In a previous conversation with me, we were talking about, despite you being such a positive guy and being in the community as an advocate, being the child and youth advocate actually comes with a lot of struggles, and even being in the world of politics is extremely hard. So what motivates you to do this work?
Everything is political. I think that's true. So when you say being in the world of politics, it's not a stretch to think about electoral politics when you've been involved in politics throughout my life. From some of my earliest memories about, growing up in a family that had its own struggles, certainly around issues of income and housing, and my dad being ill and health care, and my mom trying to hold things together for all of us. So thinking about issues related to fairness and equity and how things could be different, that's politics too. So in a funny sort of way, I think I grew up in the small p politics, trying to watch my parents keep things together in a very difficult circumstances. And I honor that, and then have been lucky enough fortunate enough to in my quest to sort of influence things in the world. I don't say change, because it's a lot of pressure for any individual, any of us, and I speak to the people of Don Valley West in this. It's a lot of pressure to expect that you are going to create fundamental change and equity. But my mom would always kind of teach us that, but you're not exempt from trying. and that's something that I think I've dedicated my professional career, my life, I guess, to. I don't say that with any lack of humility. It's just what's made me tick, and it's why I guess I decided to run. You know, when I was the advocate, I had the privilege of being in the back rooms in trying to push for decisions to be made that would benefit people's lives. Whether that's for individuals, like we would do individual advocacy, or big systemic issues. And I saw the way a liberal government would work. And I learned a lot about that institution that's a Liberal Party. Now, I'm not talking about people. You know, I've always said I haven't met anybody in bureaucracy or politicians who I felt like woke up in the morning and wanted to do harm to children. I didn't meet them. I don't think they're there. I certainly hope they're not there, but I haven't met any. Even our current premier, who I have some strong feelings about, no doubt, but I don't think he wakes up in the morning and thinks, I don't know what he thinks about, but it's not, I'm going to harm children. Doesn't mean he doesn't, but it's not his motivation. So when I say this about the Liberals or the Conservatives, it's not about the people there, but the institution of the Liberal Party thinks of it as, and I did political science, I know you did too, the governing party. They think that they are the right people to run government. It's us, because they kind of think like, well, the rest of you, how do you measure up to us? No, we're the right people. And the problem with that, a big problem with that, is that what's happened to them and that institution is their motivation is as much about staying in government than it is about what they want to do for people. And it makes sense, because if you think you're the governing party and you think you have a right to be there and you think you're the right people, you're better than everybody else, you know more, we got this, like move along people, we got it, then of course you're going to think we better stay here, because look at the damage everybody else is going to create. Such lack of humility, such lack of curiosity about what else could be done, and then they make decisions based on staying in power. I cannot tell you how often I would bring an issue to the government when it was the Liberals, and they would say, Irwin, can you give us a quick win? Give us a quick win. Irwin, maybe we could create a funding stream. That's another favorite of Liberal governments. I swear, it's the truth. And if you're Liberals there and you're Liberal politicians, you know it's the truth. You do this. And maybe you don't know it, but what you're doing, and this is their language, not mine, I got it from them, we're putting out fires. Put out the fire. That's the motivation. And why to put out the fire? Not to help people, because we need to stay in power. And then we get the Conservatives that, yeah, they want to stay in power, but they come in with this really rigid ideology. And part of it is, and I'll tell you, I remember being with a group of First Nations young people, going to they had done a report, and it was all about what they were facing and some of their recommendations, the challenges before it. And it is incredible that they produced this report, that they came together, overcoming the barriers they did to do that. And they go to this minister. It's a Conservative minister, and the Conservative minister says, the first question, I swear to God, to the young people was, how much money do you want? And the young people, like, they were ready for questions, not that one, because they were saying, what do you mean, how much money do we want? We're not asking you for any money, because we're not sure what to do about this, and neither are you. But we want to work together to figure out what can be done. Then we'll figure out how much money we need to do it. But that, I swear, is where the Conservative ideology is at, in part, right? There's a lot of other things, but it's like money. Taxpayers' purse. We have to guard. Of course. Who would say we shouldn't? Of course. But that's be all, end all. And business. Open for business. Cut red tape. You know, right now in the pandemic, what made the government do something about the protests that were happening as we're speaking, right? It was closing the Ambassador Bridge. It wasn't Ottawa. It wasn't the people in Ottawa who were saying we're being driven to madness by the noise, by we can't go to school. No, it's business is closing. Business. Cut red tape. This is because that's where their heads are at, right? It's not bad, but the economy is a means to an end. It's not an end in itself. The means to an end, what I mean by that is most of us work to live. We do not live to work. The economy is about people. And so I got involved in politics because I had seen how things work. And I thought it can be different. Because those young people are right. We should be asking, we can't do that, costs too much. We should be asking, and the young people want to be asking this. And they're speaking for the voters of Don Valley West. They're speaking the same way for all Canadians. It's not we can't, it's how can we? Yeah, we got to figure out the money. But how can we do something better to benefit people?
So, Irwin, the hashtag in your campaign is WHYWERUN.
Yeah.
What do you know about the Don Valley West riding, and what influenced your decision to run in this riding?
Well, you know, Don Valley West is part of me, I guess, and I hope I'm part of the riding. I worked in and around it. I lived in it for at least a decade, and I remember, you know, being a tenant. I've never owned a house in the riding. I've always been a tenant. I know that feeling as a tenant, that when the landlord tells you what your rent increase is for the next year when your lease is up. I know that feeling of, am I going to be able to make my paycheck manage it? And I felt that in Don Valley West. So I get it. But I also saw the neighborhoods and was in and around the neighborhoods that are so strong and vibrant. I always felt like, can we bring those neighborhoods together in common project? And that is something that I want to do. And so for me, it's like being at home in the riding. I guess that's why I'm here in this riding.
Yeah. So you've been knocking door to door in the Don Valley West community. As you're out there doing outreach, what are key issues that are unique to this riding, and what do you think voters are looking for in a candidate?
I think, let me speak about what I think people are looking for. Genuine. I don't know if genuineness is a word. Real. Candidates who are just going to be themselves, tell it like it is, take responsibility, do something. I think people are tired of talking. I know certainly those marginalized from their rights, those in difficulty, are tired of saying to people and politicians, this is what I'm facing. They want something done. They want less partisanship, more bringing together, do something, be genuine. Don't spin. Tell me the truth. I can handle it. I think that's what people want. In terms of issues, I think I think about housing. I hear a lot about people in homes that they find it hard to pay the mortgage. I hear about people who would like to buy a home but can't. I think about people who are in apartments and renters like I used to be in the riding, who are finding it so hard to just keep the roof over their head. And there are homeless in the riding who don't have a place to live. And beyond that, I think people want to feel respected and heard. They don't want government, and I'm thinking about individuals who I hear and already helping isn't the right word, already walking alongside them to try and get them what they need in life from government. they do not want to be treated like an enemy at the gate.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be heard by the institutions that are supposed to serve them, and they want somebody to listen and do their best to make life a little bit easier for them so they can reach their full potential and their family can reach its full potential. That's what I hear. I mean, very basic stuff. And, you know, it's not rocket science for institutions to focus on people, to listen, and instead of saying we can't, ask how can we, whether it's about policy or individuals, a person who needs to find a way to keep a roof over their head. It's not we can't do that. You don't fit in our program or our guidelines. How can we keep that roof over your head? That's what people want to hear. And they expect that from their MPP, and they expect that from government. And that's the government I want to be part of.
How does your experience as the provincial advocate for children and youth equip you to be the MPP for the Don Valley West riding? And if elected, will you focus solely on families and children?
So I think the way that position helped me get ready to be the MPP for Don Valley West is to let me understand from the ground up how government works, how decisions get made, whether for individuals or systemic. And I think as an MPP, I've walked alongside children and families, for sure, individual ones, trying to figure out how to use the system to get what they want, what levers to pull. I think I know how to do that. I've proven I know how to do that. And I look forward to the time when I can do that for all residents in Don Valley West. And it's not just children and parents or caregivers. It's all residents in Don Valley West who can not afford, and we cannot afford, to treat them like enemies at the gate when they need some support to shine in their full potential, to use that saying again. I'm ready to do that. I know how to do that. I think that is going to be the hallmark of my time as an MPP and representing people here, is how do we work together to ensure that people get what they need to live the lives that they want to live. All of us, rich and poor, black and white, newcomer and Canadian born for generations. How do we get what we need to live the life that we want to live? We can do that. And I want to use all those skills I learned as a child advocate to make sure that happens in our riding.
And will you solely focus on families and children?
No. Not the children's. I know it's easy to paint me as that, the children's candidate, the family's candidate. And I know a lot about that. But children are people, right? It was this guy, Yanis Korshak, said, children are people today, not children tomorrow, not children of the future. They're actually people, human beings. And so my work with them as human beings taught me, and children can teach us so much, how to work with everyone, how to partner with everyone, how to ensure everyone has a voice, how to ensure everyone's voice is respected, how to ensure that everyone has what they need to live the life that they want to. That's what children have taught me. I think they will teach all of us. And they've given me the gift of being able to walk alongside them, and taught me how to walk alongside people, which I intend to do for all residents of Don Valley West.
So, the big and final question is, why should we vote for you?
That's the hardest question you've asked me, right? Because it's the most uncomfortable for me. It's I'm not used to asking something from people. It's not something I've done. And I know I'm asking people for my vote. This is what I guess I would say. What I hope people will do is look at my track record. Look at what I've done throughout my life. Listen to what I'm saying now, and I'm saying it with open heart, open mind, trying to say what I think and feel, And then what I ask for people to do is judge. Am I the person that they feel can represent them well? What do I think? Of course I think I can. But that's their business, not mine. And what I hope people do is give a genuine look, and I'll do me, as young people say. You do you, Irwin, which I will, and they'll be themselves. And I'm confident. I'm serious. I'm confident that if people do what's in their heart, and I do what's in my heart, I'll be the next MPP in Don Valley West and the first NDP MPP in Don Valley West history. Yeah, I think that will happen.
I think that will happen too. Thank you so much, Irwin, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Vanessa, thank you. Next time I get to ask you some questions.
For sure.
All right.